12 Stoke City fans have this week received 3-year football banning orders for their parts in disorder at last year's Potteries derby. The Checkatrade Trophy match between Stoke City under-21s and Port Vale was marred by violence at Vale Park on December 4. All 12 men, who were identified from CCTV footage at the ground, pleaded guilty to throwing a missile onto a football playing area and were handed fines in addition to the banning orders when they were sentenced at North Staffordshire Justice Centre. As well as barring the men from matches, the order prohibits them from going into a defined area near the Bet365 stadium 6 hours before, during and 6 hours after Stoke City home games. The same restriction applies to away games, except those in London and Birmingham, when they are not allowed to go within 10 miles of where the Potters are playing. District Judge Timothy Boswell, who sentenced the defendants, said, "Football is exciting and passionate, particularly when there hasn't been a derby for a long time, but when that ends up in the behavior seen that night, it becomes a very serious matter indeed. Even the act of throwing an empty plastic bottle that doesn't hit anyone is part of the context of mob mentality that can very quickly spiral out of control and cause this amount of disorder. For people who were attending the match and abiding by the law, it must have been a pretty terrifying spectacle." This Stoke City season ticket holder has followed the Potters in Europe. Stoke City fan James Whitehurst has been handed a 3-year football banning order. New dad James Whitehurst went to the Potteries derby at the last minute, after bumping into a friend in the pub. He was recorded on Vale Park CCTV system throwing a bottle towards the pitch. Prosecutor Lynn Warrington said, "Mr. Whitehurst was seen at 8:47 p.m. drinking from a beer bottle. Bottles and missiles were being thrown around him. A couple of seconds later he threw the bottle towards the playing area." The 29-year-old, of Denry Crescent, Bradwell, later told police he regretted throwing the bottle as soon as it left my hand. Advocate Robert Glenn told the court, he has no previous convictions and has previously been a season ticket holder for 12 years. He has followed the team away and in Europe with no previous problems. The court heard Whitehurst has a full-time job and recently became a father. He received a £300 fine plus costs and charges. Scaffolder goaded police with hand gestures. Stoke City fan Lee Hares has been handed a 3-year football banning order. Scaffolder Lee Hares ended up being hit by a police officer's baton after becoming involved in the disorder. The court heard the 30-year-old was among the crowd of Stoke City fans that surged forward in the Hamel Road end, shortly after he had thrown a bottle onto the pitch. Ms. Warrington said, "Mr. Hares made his way to the front of the stand. He was waving his arms around, goading the home supporters, with hand gestures. He then turned his attention to the police, goading them and making hand gestures towards them." Dad of one Hares, of Mulliner Close, Buck Noel, pleaded guilty to a public order offence in addition to the missile charge. Simon Dykes, mitigating, said, "He seems to have got caught up in the moment. He has no previous convictions and has attended hundreds of football matches without any trouble in the past." He received a £750 fine plus costs and charges. Carpet fitter stamped on seat before hurling it towards police and stewards. Stoke City fan Perry Stubbs has been handed a 3-year football banning order. Veteran Stoke City fan Perry Stubbs initially denied being involved in the trouble, and then admitted his behaviour when he watched CCTV of the incident. The footage showed the 56-year-old father of 2 stamping on a seat before picking up a broken seat and throwing it towards police and stewards. The carpet fitter, of Moseley Drive, Uttoxeter, told police he was a season ticket holder and had drunk 1 bottle of lager before the match. Simon Dykes, mitigating, said Stubbs had initially denied his involvement because he suffered from a neurological condition which meant he did not recall the events. Mr. Dykes said, "It was simply foolish and irresponsible behavior. He is embarrassed that he found himself involved." Stubbs was fined £250 plus costs and charges. Warehouse worker hurled bottle at police, and hit officer on the head. Stoke City fan Alexander Goodwin has been handed a 3-year football banning order. A bottle thrown towards a line of police officers by Alexander Goodwin hit an officer's helmet. Warehouse worker Goodwin was seen to throw the plastic bottle as he made his way out of the stand. CCTV footage also showed the 34-year-old attempting to damage a seat. Ms. Warrington said, Mr. Goodwin appeared to be kicking backwards trying to break a seat. He's then seen to pick up a bottle which he threw towards a line of police officers, which hit an officer on the helmet. He was then shown to throw a piece of broken seat in the same manner. Goodwin's advocate Simon Dyke said, once again this is a young man who got caught up in the moment and followed the crowd. He has no previous convictions. He's sorry for what he did. Goodwin, of Ellen Road, Bucknell, received a £180 fine plus costs and charges. Teenage electrician filmed himself throwing seat towards Vale Park pitch. Stoke City fan Jaden Hine has been handed a 3-year football banning order. Teenager Jaden Hine filmed himself throwing a broken seat towards the pitch. The court heard the 18-year-old's actions were spotted on CCTV. Ms. Warrington said, Mr. Hine was captured holding his mobile phone in one hand and appears to be filming himself. He can then be seen throwing a broken seat in a firm manner towards the playing area, while continuing to film himself. Hine, of Willow Tree Grove, Heron Cross, was not represented by a solicitor. Addressing the court, the apprentice electrician said, I was just caught up in the moment. The atmosphere was quite intense. It was a stupid mistake and it's not going to happen again. Hine was fined £150 plus costs and charges. Teenage Stoke City fan, I got completely caught up in the moment. Stoke City fan Patrick Storer has been handed a 3-year football banning order. Teenager Patrick Storer told the court he was completely caught up in the moment when he threw a missile. CCTV footage showed the 18-year-old sales assistant hurling a broken seat towards the playing area. The teen, who has no previous convictions, told the court he lives with his sister. He said, this was completely out of character. I got completely caught up in the moment. It's something I shouldn't have done and it will never happen again. Storer, of Tittenser Road, Newcastle, was fined £120 plus costs and charges. They had to be threw 2 bottles and a seat towards Vale Park pitch. After going to funeral, Stoke City fan Corey Williams has been handed a 3-year football banning order. Expectant father Corey Williams threw 3 missiles during the disorder at the match, just hours after attending a friend's funeral. The 23-year-old picked up part of a broken yellow seat and launched it towards the pitch before doing the same with 2 bottles. Williams, who has no previous convictions, was not represented by a solicitor in court. He said, I had been drinking that day because I had been to a friend's funeral. I went to the football match and the atmosphere got the better of me. Williams, of Cambrian Way, Bucknell, received a £220 fine plus costs and charges. Trainee plasterer made gestures to Vale fans, and threw bottle towards pitch. Stoke City fan Stephen Joynson has been handed a 3-year football banning order. Dad of 2 Stephen Joynson was filmed making gestures towards Port Vale fans. He was also caught on CCTV throwing a bottle towards the pitch. Ms. Warrington said, he was captured on CCTV drinking from a bottle just before 9 p.m. There is a visible reaction from the crowd and a number of missiles are thrown at the playing area. Through the bottle he was holding forwards in an overarm motion. He then surged forward with the crowd and made gestures in the direction of the home supporters. Trainee plasterer Joynson, of Divity Road, Bentiley, was not represented by a solicitor. He told the court, I had one too many and the atmosphere completely got the better of me. It's just not like me. Bottle throwing Stoke City fan, I'm embarrassed. Stoke City fan Thomas Hoy has been handed a 3-year football banning order. 25-year-old Thomas Hoy told the court his involvement in the disorder was completely out of character. CCTV footage revealed Hoy picking up a bottle and throwing it towards the pitch. After being identified, he told police he had not thrown anything during the match. But the court heard he changed his story after he was shown the CCTV. Hoy, of Winchester Avenue, Bentiley, was not represented by a solicitor in court. He said, "I was caught up in the moment. It was completely out of character, I completely regret it. I'm embarrassed by it." Hoy, who has no previous convictions, was fined £200 plus costs and charges. Dad to be through bottle after Port Vale scored fourth goal. Stoke City fan Daniel Hulme has been handed a 3-year football banning order. Expectant dad Daniel Hulme threw a bottle just after Port Vale scored their fourth goal. The 20-year-old, whose first child is due in 2 weeks, was recorded hurling the bottle towards the pitch as other missiles were being thrown around him. When he was interviewed by police, he admitted what he had done but could not give a reason why he had behaved that way. He has no previous convictions. Representing himself, he told the court, "I'm ashamed. I was caught up in the moment completely. I'm sorry for my behavior." Hulme, of Nelson Street, Fenton, must pay a £200 fine plus costs and charges. Shop worker threw seat towards Vale Park pitch like a frisbee. Stoke City fan Vincent Pazier has been handed a 3-year football banning order. Retail worker Vincent Pazier used it frisbee action to launch a seat towards the pitch. The court heard the 25-year-old was caught on CCTV in the Hamel Road end. Ms. Warrington said, "He is seen to throw one of the yellow seats towards the playing area with a frisbee action." When interviewed by the police, he accepted it was him on the CCTV throwing the seat. He said he had drunk some alcohol on the day of the match but did not feel he was drunk. Pazier, of Broadway, Mayor, was not represented by a solicitor. He told the court, "I don't know what came over me. I regret my actions." Pazier, who had no previous convictions, was fined £200 plus costs and charges. Stoke City fan Sam has now lost his job as a bin man. Stoke City fan Sam Stevenson has been handed a 3-year football banning order. Former bin man Sam Stevenson lost his job as a result of his behavior at Vale Park. Ms. Warrington said, "Just after 9:30 p.m. CCTV shows Mr. Stevenson pick up a broken piece of yellow seat. He showed it to a female, then appeared to discard it on the ground. He then bent down and picked up an item and threw it to the playing area. He then picked up another piece of yellow seat and walked off camera still holding it." Stevenson, who was not represented by a solicitor, told the court he had been a bin man but had lost his job because of the prosecution. He said, "It was stupid, it was the heat of the moment." Stevenson, of Paul Ware Street, Stoke, received a £100 fine plus costs and charges.